All right, that's how to do it. Excellent. So get out your notebook and expect to take action, because at the end, I'm going to ask you, what's your big aha or takeaway, or what action are you going to take and by when as a result of having spent this time together? I want you to steal from me. I'm going to do this because rather than saying any questions, at the end of a presentation that I make and one that maybe you make in the future, I want to encourage you to ask people to share the things that they took away, because it helps others on the webinar or in the learning experience go, oh yeah, that was important for me too. All right. That's why we're going to do it. Our mission today is twofold: to explore the key success factors in deciding whether or not to pursue a U.S. federal or DoD opportunity, and to give you some tools to improve the outcome of your bid, no bid decisions. Let's get to it. All right. Experience level check with U.S. government proposals. I'd like you to drop in the chat how many of these things apply to you, that we've submitted winning proposals to government at any level in Canada. If that's true, put 1 in the chat. Department of National Defense, if that's true, put 2 in the chat. U.S. corporate clients, that's a 3. U.S. federal, state, or local government, and U.S. DoD. So write the numbers in the chat for how many of those things apply to you. I'm just going to leave this poll open for 30 seconds. All right. So, and are we getting some responses now? What are we seeing?
Well, we see everything. Some people got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and some people are 1 or a 2. There are 3. There's lots of there's a variety of
keep voting.
Experiences.
We want to see it. We're going to leave this poll open for another 5 seconds. Come on there. Let's see what's going on. Can everybody see the Q's and A's, and who, or just you?
I think everybody can see them.
All right. Well, I will tell you that whatever you've entered, you're in the right place. You're going to come away with useful things. Does every opportunity require a proposal, a big honking multi-page, multi-week expensive thing? The answer is no. Not every opportunity to do business with DoD requires a proposal. Requests for quotation can be much simpler. An invitation for bid requires much more limited responses. You might have a proposal to do if you already have a contract vehicle, something that's similar to a master standing offer, or and the analogy to a hunting and fishing license, where there's a limited pool of suppliers and you make the big investment in the proposal to be in the special pool, and then to actually win smaller projects as part of that big pool, your proposal effort can be more limited. So for definitive contracts and contract vehicles, you may need to do a full response to that request for proposal. And I want to start there because the opportunity to win money is valuable, and starting small and being persistent is in your interest. All right, screenshot this. I'm not going to read this thing, but I pulled this together just to drive home the idea that request for proposal is the subject of not only what I'm talking about today, but responding to a request for proposal will also be the subject of the next 2 sessions that CCC is going to be presenting. Because you are here, you'll receive an invitation to those sessions, and they're also free. So understand that more limited responses to a solicitation for an opportunity to do business include an invitation for bid. So that's low work and is often just all about best price, best compliant bid wins, or request for quotation. And so you'll see that there are 3 different parts of the federal acquisition regulations that provide more information about how business is done. You would not step onto a soccer pitch or a hockey rink. Let us think about a ball field if you didn't know the rules of the game. And so you'll want to know the rules of the game for each of these, and be aware that opportunities to win business without big honking expensive, complex proposals are also available to you, and they're things you'll want to learn about.
Judy, before you go back, I have got a couple people who say they're seeing an empty screen.
I do not know why this is.
I don't know if it's because if they're using, nope, someone sees it now. All right. So maybe
Okay,
we're back to
all right.
We're back in business.
All right. And yes, please always let us know if you're having transmission difficulties. We can't see what you see. All right. So give us a thumbs up if you're good to go. We're good. Are we good, Anu?
I'm good. I don't see anybody else putting thumbs up. I'm hoping everybody can see it. Oh,
all right.
Someone said good. All right. Let's continue.
Good. All right. And so pre-proposal engagement with U.S. Department of Defense customers comes in many shapes and forms. Request for information. A request for information, I will always remember my very first query that I took when I newly hung out my consulting sign and I left the Trade Commissioner service, and a lovely gentleman outside of Ottawa had written to me saying, I'm confused. I've responded to this request for information and I have not received anything. I went, all right, first of all, thank you so much for asking me this question. And let me check, because regulations do change. But the last time I checked, a request for information does not mean that the government sends you information. It means you send information to the government. And that was actually the case. So a request for information is a pre-solicitation activity that is the most free forms. The government's kind of sort of maybe going to do a thing and we don't know what we're doing. We don't know if we're going to do it. We don't know if there's a budget. We want to pick your brain and get lots of ideas for free. All right. But participating in responding to a request for information is one of the early ways that you can not only get to know the people who are not only running the acquisition, but also get ideas in front of the people who need what you do. And those are two different groups of people. But it also means that you have standing. You have the ability to follow up suddenly. You've opened a hailing frequency, Captain. Responding to a sources sought. A sources sought is a little more specific. The U.S. DoD is asking, are there any American small businesses who can do this work at a fair and reasonable price? They're not only looking for suppliers, but they're considering how to shape their acquisition strategy and whether or not to limit the competition in whole or in part to companies that meet the definition of American small business. For you who are headquartered in Canada, that can represent a market barrier. But if somebody wants to do business with you and they understand that you could respond to this, but if they set it aside for American small business, they won't be able to get that good stuff, ideas, things, products, expertise that you have. So you want to participate in that. A draft request for proposal. Larger, complex requirements, you have that opportunity to go and respond to the draft, let the buyers know that there's a problematic statement of work or definition of requirements. Give them feedback before they put out the big honking thing on purpose. Post-release questions and answers. There's often very structured opportunities to ask questions. They'll tell you, please write it or please send it to these people between these hours, use this format. Other ways to engage with the buyers, let them know who you are, let them understand why you are somebody they might want to stay in touch with and engage with. On larger, more complex requirements, it's common to have an industry day, whether that is a conference that takes place at the US DoD site in person. More frequently, especially since 2020, those can take place online. If you're interested in an opportunity, you definitely want to participate in the industry day. Industry day also can take place hosted by a buying command or location that is going through all of their upcoming big requirements for the upcoming year. I've attended one of those at an Army one at Aberdeen Proving Ground, for example. And so there they'll go through the forecast of all kinds of things. Big projects, especially for construction or facilities management, a walkthrough. You not only get to meet people involved in designing the acquisition, but also potential partners and primes. So these are all pre-RFP opportunities to engage, to get to know people and shape requirements. Valuable. The opportunity to respond begins long before the big notice gets posted on sam.gov. You want to be looking for these opportunities as well. And all of that takes time. That means that for practical purposes, there's a limited number of fully blown opportunities that it makes sense to be able to invest time and money to pursue. So you want to make those choices carefully. Now, would you like to have an opportunity to engage with the customer where they will pay you money to get to know them? I would. So 2 opportunities for engagement that generate revenue are micro purchases, and the threshold for that just changed on October 1st, 2025. Opportunities to solve a problem, provide a product, a service, training, a report, an assessment for under $15,000 US. The Buy American Act does not apply there. American small business set-asides don't apply there, and these are not posted anywhere. At the end, I'll give you a link to training that CCC has already done and recorded with me on video that's free, where you can find out more about micro purchases and how you can find people who need what you do and engage with them and get paid as quickly as 24 hours after delivery. I know when I did that, honestly, I wept. It was lovely. Simplified acquisition between $15,000 US and $350,000 US. The rules can be much simpler and don't require these massive proposals. Now, if you think about what kinds of problems you could solve with somebody for under $350,000, that's also under the threshold where CCC can be engaged to help you write that proposal. But hands up, give me a thumbs up or a yes in the chat. Anybody who would really like to have a contract with the United States Department of Defense that would generate $350,000 US. Who wants one of those? Anybody want one of those? I bet you do. These are relationship sales. And so there's opportunities to do that as well. And you want to be doing both of these kinds of things so that by the time you show up as someone who's offering a big complex proposal, the buyer goes, oh yeah, those guys. Oh, we like those. They've been around. They've been solving a lot of smaller problems for us. We want to keep them in the running. Now let's talk about proposals. I want you to imagine that you're in a big conference. Let's say maybe you've been to CANSEC, maybe you go to the Association of the U.S. Army, AUSA show in Washington, D.C. You're in this big room and you're on the far side of the room. You watch somebody walk into the room and their eyes are lit up and they're looking all the way diagonally across the room and they clearly see someone and they make a beeline through the crowd and they go down on one knee and they offer up the box with the ring. Without knowing what was going on, wouldn't you just cringe? When you go and make a proposal to somebody who's never heard of you and you just see that notice online, that is like walking across the room and going down on one knee and offering everything you've got to a perfect stranger. It's that kind of heartbreaking experience is what you're in for if you're making proposals to somebody who has never heard of you. So I want you to think about that and realize that's not ever anything you want to do. You got to woo them. You got to get to know them. You want to be doing those small things, the sit in the park and talk about how things are going, the equivalent of all the things you do to build a relationship with someone before you get to the point where you're proposing, because there's no such thing as doing business with the government. There's only doing business with people. I'm going to say that again. There's no such thing as doing business with the government. There's only doing business with people. And you've got to build those relationships. It's that simple. So I want you to drop a figure in the chat. How much of your business that you have won since the start of your company, comes from a strong relationship at the core? Put it in the chat. 15%, 50, 15, 5, 20. 90, 110. Anu, let me know, what are the numbers that we're seeing in the chat right now? What are those numbers?
Well, right now, anything from, well, there's some people who said 50, but there's a lot of hundreds I see.
90, I can see 80. 90, 80, 100, says Miriam. Yep. 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 Exactly. So I have good news for you. Those of you who have those high numbers on relationship sales, you already know 80% of what it takes to be successful in selling to DoD, whether you realize it or not. That other 20%, that's learnable, and trying to figure that out on your own is painful, which is why we're here. So it's going to get better. The bid, no bid, I want you to think about that as the $65,000 question. Here's why. Proposals are expensive. DoD proposals especially so. The solicitation itself has 13 parts, section A through M of the standard federal solicitation. Each one is very structured. It is not the place to get creative. You have to answer the questions. It's very structured. It's very precise. Often there are multiple sections. There's a pricing section, a management section, a technical section. We're going to go through all of these things in the section on responding to proposals in the next 2 webinars. But right now, just to get to the beginning of that decision, I'm going to give you some things to think about, because proposal responses require perfection on every page. There's an exact page count. You can't have too many pages. There's a specification about what kind of fonts you can use and what point size on the fonts. You've got to be sent in on time, and you do not wait until 5 minutes to 5 for a 5 p.m. Eastern deadline, because what if the website crashes? That's your fault as the vendor. You've got to get this stuff in. At least we're not in a world where typically you've got to send 12 copies in cardboard boxes and send them by courier. But you've got a response. You've got to prepare a response that provides exactly what they request, and no more, no less. Unlike doing a proposal for corporate, all you have to do is answer the questions that are there in the order that they ask them and prepare a very precise response, because they take that response apart. Often you've got multiple people evaluating different sections, and if your response is not organized exactly the way that the request for proposal is, you're not even going to get considered, and all your time and effort is thrown out. Forms, past performance, technical management, the solution they wanted in the format that they asked for, so they can justify choosing you. They want to know you can follow instructions. Get it done right, because if your proposal doesn't show that time and precision and care, why on earth would they think about choosing you? This is a big investment. And so those of you who have submitted proposals, what's your win rate? Put a 1 if it's under 10%, put a 2 if it's 10 to 30%, a 3 if it's 30 to 50, a 4 if it's 50 to 75, a 5 if it's over 75, a 6, we don't know. All right. What's your win rate right now? And you should know that. What's your win rate? Let's see. We got a 2, we got a 2, 1 and 2, got a 2. Nothing to be ashamed of, because I'm going to tell you in a minute what the win rate is that federal contractors in the United States experience. A 4, Desiree. Wow.
Yeah, there's some good. There's
a 2. There's a lot of honesty. And I want to thank you for your candor and your courage to share this. We've got a bunch of 10 to 20s. And my win rate, honestly, no matter what I do, it tends to be about 11%. And that's really tough. So again, oh yeah, and 7, you'd never bid. Got it. Average win rate in the U.S. federal market is 25%. To win 1, you're losing 4. I remember having this conversation with someone who was all excited that she had won her first federal contract. And I was writing my first edition of my book at the time. And I said, how many bids did you submit to do that? And she said 38. and I wasn't going to even do the math in public, which I never do on days that end in Y, but I didn't have the heart to tell her that the cost of winning 1 included the cost of losing 37. But that's the cost of the whole game. So keep that in mind. Here's why the proposal go, no go decisions matter. Typical response time, you might 30 to 90 days, 4 people, maybe 40 hours a week, 4 weeks, 4 people. There's your $65,000. And that might be on top of or include specialized expertise. You might need lawyers, you might need pricing experts, you might need coaching for orals. In the artificial intelligence world, having an actual human making an oral presentation, we're going to see more of that too. And then there's opportunity cost. All of the things you're spending time doing this one means there's things you're not spending doing other things. The good news is you have, once we get to those opportunities that are worth more than $350,000 US, you have a secret weapon. You have CCC on your side, helping you with what's otherwise really costly. On the other hand, that means that before you engage your Canadian superpowers, you want to make a solid decision, and you had better expect a candid conversation with the team at CCC to explain why it is that you're presenting them with an opportunity that's likely to be successful. And it's not like you hit a button and where did it go? I'm going to use my special tool. Like there's a magic wand and everything just pops out and CCC does it all for you. It's still going to take a lot of your time and effort. You've got to put it in the right place. In Canada, remember that despite all of the special things in the relationship between Canada and the United States for defense trade, there are still barriers. And so you'll want to have this conversation with the team at CCC. If something has come up, you see it, it looks awesome, you're excited. You want to have a review of the solicitation itself and everything to do with the opportunity to make sure that there are no small business set-asides that will constitute a barrier for you, that the Buy American Act, which can still apply, is not going to be an issue for you. There are issues related to export controls, which can affect the flow of information, as well as physical items that can be different kinds of controlled. So you want to go and do a scrub on market access with the team at CCC before you make any kind of move or investment of time and money, okay? The good news is you have help to do this. You don't have to figure it out by yourself. Next up, customer access. You need to figure out whether or not your company is in a position to be able to participate in the competition. If it's a one-off, there's a solicitation, it's on the street, there's going to be a competition, and you've scrubbed for barriers, you could be good to go. Sometimes there's something called a contract vehicle. In the parallel to what in Canada you might have experienced as master standing offer. In the metaphorical equivalent is a hunting and fishing license or a limited pool of suppliers. Only people on a particular contract vehicle or in a particular pre-qualified pool can participate in that opportunity. If you are not on that contract vehicle, it may be that you've got 2 levels of competition. You have to compete to be in the limited pool, and then you have to compete for each individual order, task order or delivery order that's issued in that specific pool. Sometimes you can participate in that. Other times the pool has a 2 or 3 or 5 year lifespan. And if it's already been established and you see a smaller opportunity that's limited to the bigger pool, you may need a teaming partner. More complicated, not always something CCC can help you with. You've got to understand the structure of the solicitation, right? So you've got to look at whether you can have access to the customer. Successful proposal prerequisites also are based on customer intimacy and competitor intelligence. I want you to think about this, your customer intimacy rating on a scale of 1 through 5. And if you don't, a footnote, you don't need a big expensive contact relationship management system. For the sake of all that is holy, put this stuff in a spreadsheet, but for every single opportunity that you're thinking of pursuing, you go back to one of the other webinars that I gave, and I'll give you the link for this at the end, where you're laying out for every single opportunity, all the humans that you know that you've been in touch with as the opportunity has been developing, what I call your players at all the layers. And you want to rate your level of intimacy, customer intimacy with them. Either you've not had any contact with them, they're a name in the list, they're the name in the RFP, you never talked to them. Contact, two-way contact, you've got a hailing frequency open, Captain. Number 3, continued engagement. This is a long dance, long dance. You think of your mate or your long-term relationship and how long did you woo them before it hit that magic moment and things locked in. It can be like that too. You know, that's happened in your professional life with your customers as well. Sometimes it takes a long time. Contract award, that's what I call intimacy level 4. And 5, they're your champion. They're introducing people, they're a referral. So I want to encourage you to note the customer intimacy level as well. You want to be answering questions like, who's the incumbent? Who's already there? How many other contracts is that incumbent already doing with the people you want to be doing business with? Who are the other competitors in the marketplace? Please do not tell me you have no competitors. Your federal prospect is already doing business with somebody else who's not you, whose product may not be as good, whose expertise may be terrible, whose pricing may be more, but they're already buying something else because they're not doing business with you. Those people. All right. What kind of pre-RFP conversations have you had? Those pre-engagement things. And what are your people really afraid of? 3 things they all want. Follow the rules, make it easy, make them look good. Are you doing all 3 of those things? Because the place where that intersects is a place where you can be successful. Ask yourself these questions every time. If you cannot answer yes to all 3 of these things, they're going to be choosing somebody who can. So 5 fast questions for better bid decisions. This is what I call the WIRED framework. And here's why I call it that. This is a fast, structured way to decide whether to pursue or walk away from a formal proposal opportunity. It's going to help you focus, capture time and proposal dollars on bids you can win. And it's built from our proprietary and proven methodologies. WIRED is also a term you want to use carefully, but it does come from casual or informal slang about a solicitation that's written so tightly that one company, maybe the incumbent especially, is in a really strong position to win. And so I took that apart and said, all right, what are 5 things that correspond with WIRED so it's easy to remember? The first, the W is win probability. All right, so you can write this stuff down. You can screenshot this. Do we have a real shot? If you know the buyer and the incumbent and what makes you different, that'd be a green. Yellow, you know some of the players, but not how the buyer's going to be scoring success, not just in section M of the solicitation, the evaluation factors, but the other things you've learned from conversations. Or red, you're guessing who's buying and why, and you've got some market access and small business barriers. That's a 0. Okay. And we're going to give number rankings to each of these color codes at the end. Questions you want to be asking yourself include who identified the opportunity and got involved in developing the scope of work. Is it somebody we know at the customer site? Is it the contracting officer or the end user? Or is it our capture management team who's been in there right from the beginning talking to the buyers? Proposal response, a successful proposal includes knowing your differentiators. What makes you stand out? Makes you the low risk choice. Past performance is definitely one of those. Strong capability statement, profitable pricing. Don't ever try to lowball your way in and say, we'll take this one at a loss. How do you raise the price later and justify that? You don't. Delivery capacity, people, production, management. All of these things are on the short list of things that can help you stand out. The messaging workshop that I'll give you at the end has more details on best values and messaging. The I in WIRED is influence beforehand. How have we shaped the requirement? Give it a green if you've had pre-RFP conversations and the buyer knows your value. Give it a yellow if you've responded to the sources sought, but you haven't had any one-on-one conversations. And a red is you found this perfect thing and you know just how to respond. That for a big complex proposal, not realistic. It can be for a request for quote, maybe for invitation for bid, but no. So where was the opportunity posted? On SAM, on GSA eBuy? Did somebody call you at the last minute and ask you to bid? That is not actually the great sign that you think it is. Often that means they're just looking to fill the file with competent responses so they can show that they shopped? Or did this opportunity show up nowhere? You just developed it in conversation. And this is going to be for the lower level responses. So how did we discuss the requirement with the buyer? Did we give webinars? Did we provide training? Did we do site visits? Did we go to conferences? Why would the customer choose us? How are we going to be the low risk choice, the safe bet? The R of wired, resources and readiness. How well are we going to be able to bid and deliver? How strongly does the customer understand that we are going to help them shine? Your own team and your partners and your pricing and your data, they're all ready to go. Yellow, you need access to a contract vehicle. You need more time to find a teammate, a joint venture, an agreement. Or red, and I hear this all the time. Hey, we put it all in place. I've got stuff. It just award us the contract. Are you serious? If you're the buyer, how comfortable are you going to be with somebody who's going to get it all ready just the moment you get the contract award? No. All right. The E, evaluation fit. How well do we align with evaluation factors? Familiarize yourself with the parts of the federal solicitation. Section M for Mike. Section M is often the place where people start when they're taking apart a request for proposal to say, hey, how well does our experience and all of the things they're looking for and all line up with who we actually are and what our track record is? That, honestly, that same process was how I won the opportunity to work at the Canadian Embassy. I failed for the first 2 tries, and then I realized I could get the full job description if I just asked for it, and I got it. And I looked at all the things that they were looking for somebody to do that job as a commercial officer at the Canadian Embassy. And I lined up every single piece of experience that I had. And so when they went through it, you want this? I got that. You want this? I got that. You want this? I got that. Boom, 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 boom. That was how I got the job. And that's how you need to position yourself for that kind of success. The value of the deal. What's the strategic value of this project? Whether you win or whether you lose, is it going to generate profit, visibility, and the strategic value of strengthening the relationship, even if you aren't successful? If you win, it's going to be profitable, but it's got low strategic value. It's taking you out of the focus of what your business is in business for. Worst of all, it'd be thin margin. It'd be sort of, so the money out and the money in are really not that different. And let's say participating in this would be this, what I think of as a horrifying experience of throwing our hat in the ring. Please do not throw your hat in the ring. Please do not throw your cap over the wall. You have other things to be doing with those caps. Make that decision, because win or lose, if you win, you're going to do your best. If you lose, and you're going to profit and it will help grow your company. If you lose, you're going to keep showing up and keep building those relationships. That's the kind of deal fit that you want to be seeing. So be able to understand what's your investment in just writing the proposal. What's your budget for doing that proposal? Are we going to be profitable enough if we win? And win or lose, what's our plan to leverage the relationships we're going to make on the way? Then score and decide. If your total score for doing this wired evaluation is a 10, proceed with confidence. 7 to 9, proceed with caution. Under 6, I would recommend you consider no bidding or repositioning for another time. Even a no bid, every no bid is actually a win. Analyze the wired factors, strengthen that area before you launch a capture effort, share your lessons learned from your no bid decisions across your BD and proposal team, and follow up with every newly identified government contact. New contacts are a win. I will always remember this proposal debriefing that I did with Krug Furniture out of Kitchener, and Mike Beamer was a company president then, and they submitted a big proposal on a contract vehicle to the General Services Administration, and they lost. And they were not happy. This was my first big debriefing. They called up the embassy and said, "Can you help us?" I set them up a meeting. And we were in a big room with all kinds of people. And so they had bid and they had bid unsuccessfully. This is a debriefing story. And they had the head of the Furniture Commodity Center. They had 2 lawyers. They had the contracting officer. They had the contract specialist. They had 4 people who had never seen a foreigner before, 3 people from the company, and me. And they went through all the different factors and we responded to lots of them and we dispensed with a lot of the objections, but it turned out there was one mistake in the proposal. They were asked to submit underwriter laboratory data and they submitted Canadian Standards Association fireproof data instead. It was non-compliant. Nothing could be done. In those days, they had to wait another 5 years to submit a new proposal. But the things that they learned and the friends that they made positioned them for literally millions of dollars of success moving forward. Relationships count. Make wired your daily habit. Use pipeline reviews and gate meetings. Train your new staff. Train everyone to be using a consistent method for making those bid, no bid decisions and align your capture and proposal investments with your best chances to win. So 12 signs to watch for as a competitor already in the lead. I'm going to run these really quickly, and I'm also going to offer you a guide where you can go through these in much more detail. Signs to look for that might suggest the opportunity's headed for somebody who's not you, or signs that you have built the relationship if these things are applying to you. Potential warning signs, if it's not you, there's already an incumbent. Incumbents don't already win, but if there's already somebody in there, that suggests a degree of customer intimacy and liking that already can leave you at a disadvantage. Small business set-asides that you don't qualify for. If the customer loves you and really wants you, they wouldn't be setting it aside because they would know that that's going to lock you out. Proprietary technology that's not yours, not a good sign. Vague descriptions of requirements. Make posters on the wall, make a recording, good luck. Not quite that vague, but if it's a scanty, really thin description of requirements and it's a complex, large proposal, that also suggests that the buyer thinks you really should have been in there talking to them. Key personnel emphasis. They're describing people that with types of experience that they want to be working on the project, and none of those line up with anybody who works for you. Desired past performance looks like the competition, and it doesn't look like you. These kinds of things show up in mandatory or desirable requirements. Look for those. Complex requirements and a tight proposal deadline. We're going to see an example about that in a minute. Complex requirements, but there's been none of these requests for information, pre-solicitation, draft RFP, or there's a combined solicitation synopsis. So things are on a short timeline and the buyer is clearly expecting somebody already knows the ropes and is ready to drop in something very quickly. RFP, request for proposal, published on a Friday. It's not the kiss of death, but clearly somebody who knows where this is going to be published and has been waiting for it. They're going to get, for better or worse, an extra weekend to work on this thing. And if you haven't been looking for this and don't know where it's supposed to be coming out, you're going to lose an extra 2 days that could make all the difference. North American Industrial Classification System codes. Every single opportunity is coded with one of these things. And sometimes it'll get changed at the last minute, or it'll be just kind of weird and you wonder why they chose that one. These can be signs that buyers are human. They need to show that they shopped, but to be able to publish it and say, it was out there, people should have been able to see it. It doesn't hurt their feelings all that badly if they only get 6 proposals instead of 60 or 600. Competitor wrote the statement of work. Now, this is an interesting thing. It's a small thing, but when you download from sam.gov the detailed documents, often there's a couple of different Word documents that have a lot of descriptions and performance work statements. Take a look at the document properties, because sometimes the identity of and the company name of the person who was involved in drafting something or some original document will still be there. Insider scoop, check and see. Sometimes there's an unusually specific contract performance requirement. Do you need to take a caliper to design a guitar pick? I don't think so. Nuts, bolts, sure. But if you're looking for unusually specific contract performance requirements, that could be another sign they've got somebody in mind. So I'm going to put these ideas to work. We'll have a little bit of fun. I'm going to give you 2 real-world case studies, and I'd love to get your thinking in the chat. So Anu, get ready to read some stuff to me, but I'll see if I can call it the chat as well. Here we go. And so case study number 1, Sal Communications. Kim Plyler in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Navy veteran. She was a former contracting officer, and her past performance included a project for the Navy CIO doing smart card and common access. And this was an opportunity to do military voting systems in Northampton County, Pennsylvania. Now here, the opportunity was had been a source of sought published. So they were looking for small businesses. There was a previous incumbent, but they wanted the prime contractor to have past performance. She worked to nurture relationships for 9 and 10 months ahead, but in order to have that past performance, she needed to team with someone else as a prime contractor. So what of this looks like it may be wired to you? Take a minute. I'm going to take 30 seconds. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What are you seeing? What are you hearing in that setup that is pinging for you? What are you noticing? What are you noticing?
Nothing yet.
Okay. What are you noticing in that thing?
We have past performance. Desiree says past performance.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Experience requirements.
Uh-huh. She's found a way to address the experience requirements.
Building relationships with the buyer.
Mm-hmm. She's done that. We're taking our 30 seconds, so I just want to... Got you thinking. So the previous incumbent one on price. So there was a $600,000 price difference. 1.3 million was what the winner had offered, and Kim had offered 1.9 million. And that price difference was exactly the margin it was going to cost her that she would have had to pay to the prime contractor. And so that was the markup. That happened to be the value of the markup of, she wasn't even getting that money. That was going to go to the company who had the prime experience. So she bid and she lost, but there were opportunities still for her to continue to develop relationships. Those future moves included, there were some things that the prime wasn't that good at, the people who won the work. And so she could go in and offer backup capacity. She could also offer the opportunity to provide surge capacity if the project got bigger or the requirement grew. She was able to be in the wings for them and to give them added assurance that they could always call her. She could also ask, hey, are there other people that you know that we should be talking to? You can always ask that. She was able to cultivate other relationships as a result moving forward. And this was a contract with a base plus 2-year options. The 2-year options might not be awarded. So keeping in touch over time, finding out how things are going are all options. Case study number 2. This was also a real one. Ann Chambers, CEO of Red 212, had seen this request for proposal. This tells you about the life of government contractors, sent an email with a date stamp of 3:38 a.m. I also need a life. You'll see my email time slot as well. She said, I'm working on a response to a request for quotation for the National Women's Business Council. Timing's crazy. RFQ came out on a Monday. Response is due at noon on a Friday. I'd never worked with the government. I'm expecting there's an incumbent. I'm trying to determine if there is one. If there is, I might pass, or I might use it as a way to throw my hat in the ring. And it's work I'm very passionate about. I want to be helping women business owners, but our work has been about food safety and the U.S. Department of, in fact, it was just food safety, not even Department of Agriculture. Well, I write her back at 6:30 in the morning. I clearly need a life. I look at the solicitation There's a short time frame. Deliverables were supposed to begin 5 days after contract award. It was a purchase order, so it was a very limited thing. And it was a year plus options that were going to go out for another year. There's a 6-page response limit and a lot of emphasis on past performance and technical. Is this looking good? Is this? So this was the real solicitation on what was the predecessor to SAM.gov. Combined synopsis solicitation as well. So our related past performance was not ever with government. We didn't have a relationship with the buyer. We didn't have any knowledge or preparation prior to just seeing this thing. While the contracting officer said, no, there's no incumbent, she had to think about how I felt about dropping everything else I was doing for 5 days. What looks wired to you? What are you seeing? Let's see it in the chat. What are you noticing? Yep, short timeline, a hidden incumbent, past performance, not objective enough, not prepared for this RFP. Yep, I want to be in business with you people. You are making good decisions. And so I would be surprised if there's anybody here who thought that bidding was a good idea. In point of fact, and no bid, spent some time trying to get to know the players at all the layers. And so she did not submit a minimal bid just to get her name out there. She had other things to do with her life for 4 days. And ultimately, Anne decided that the federal market just wasn't even for her. And so she moved on to do other things with her company and do work where she felt she could grow and be more successful. So as we head toward recap, some major criteria to think about are access to the market. That's doing your scrub for set-asides, export controls, and Buy American. Access to the customer intimacy, your ability to respond. Can you answer all the questions? Your past performance, your experience that shows that you solved their problem for someone who looks just like them yesterday afternoon. Your ability to price profitably as well as to win. Show differentiator. Demonstrate you've got financing and the people to do the job. If it matters, use a checklist. Pilots, and that includes me, use checklists. Surgeons use checklists. EMTs use checklists. Contracting officers use checklists, and so should you. I want to encourage you to commit to the power of human connection. It is the most powerful force on earth. We have covered a ton. I hope you're coming away with the sense of why bid, no bid. That decision to bid matters. And you really got your arms around some major criteria to think about before you begin to write a proposal. The time you spend to make a good decision is going to help you be profitable, stay in business, grow, and thrive, and have the resources you need for the right opportunities. I hope I've got you thinking about how to generate smaller engagements, lower dollar value that have high leverage to open doors and build trust as well. And I'm going to show you some resources on how to do that now. So real quick, what's your big aha or takeaway from our session today? What did you learn? What's one thing that opened your eyes just a little bit? Please drop that in the chat. You're helping others as well. So what sounded valuable or useful from your experience today? What landed for you? As we do that, there follow up on engagement on lost bids. Thank you, Desiree. Absolutely right. What else? Emphasizing relationship building. Right on, Matt. Building relationships. It doesn't have to be a challenge, Sajid. It can be easier than you think. It's not something that happens broad brush across the board. It starts with solid focus. We've got this. Industry day and walkthrough is very important. Absolutely. Any chance to meet people in person. Sometimes you got to get on a plane. CCC Advisor Services. Anu just put the link in the chat as well. Resources. Let's go there. Structured approach to prospecting and messaging. There's the link. Screenshot it. There's the link to the video where you can see one of our sessions from last year. Something else to screenshot. Another free video lesson. Small wins, big impact. Using micro purchases to win DoD contracts. These are the things worth up to what's now $15,000. So let's say $10,000 in the video. It changed to $15,000, 50% bigger on October 1st of this year. And there's a complimentary attendee bonus. My bid, no bid guide. You can capture the QR code or screenshot the URL. This includes not just details on the wired framework, but imagine if you had a checklist that could predict whether you'd win or lose with 94% accuracy. That's included here. 94% accuracy. If you want that tool, it's waiting for you in the guide. And I have a lot more details on our bid, no bid diagnostic, those 12 warning signs. Finally, I mentioned the capability statement. You're going to need that as you prepare to show off your differentiators, as you're building relationships. And here's a guide for where you can find that as well.